I'll share this because I know I was praying more people will be in person, but I know that there are a lot of people who are watching online. Um, so I want to make sure that I give deference uh, to what has to be shared. So I'm gonna read some things because honestly, I don't know if I'll be able to get through this, but I wanted you all to come together because in a lot of ways, I think that it's important for me to be I practice vulnerability and honesty, and so I want to make sure that I'm able to share some things with you, just as a point of vulnerability. Um, when I was younger, one of my favorite games was Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Anybody remember this game? Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Anyone with a Nintendo growing up remembers the wonders of this game. It was so much fun to play as Little Mac, this ruddy upstart pro trying to become a champion. Of course, the final boss is Mike Tyson himself. I don't know how many people actually got to the end of it. I got to the end of it, and I could never defeat Mike Tyson. He moved too fast. He was really big, but it's an awesome game. And I love the game because I love Little Mac's heart. He would get the snot beat out of him, but he would always be able to get back up off the mat. And at times, he would surprise you with these super knockout punches. However, when Little Mac got tired from throwing so many punches, you could see the fatigue set in. He would not be able to block. And you can remember this in the game. He would turn red, like this pink. His arms would go down, and you're able to knock him out. And if you were not careful, no matter how much heart he had, he simply could not get back up. And you would have to start the entire process over in the journey again. In a lot of ways, the journey with with planting Reconcile reminds me of Little Mac, a church plant trying to beat the odds to become a sustaining, life-giving church in a historic African-American community riddled with its fair share of hardships. From our inception, we had a heart and saw some amazing victories. We were able to serve our community in countless ways. We became the unsung heroes behind the scenes. That was super rewarding. And we built trust with the persons of peace in our community. And we were afforded seats at the community table, which to this day are amazing. Early on, one of our church advisors, who's here with me today, would tell me that we have stories that other churches dreamed of. A community was formed of people in love with God from various walks of life. And we saw people get married. We sent couples out. Ministers get licensed. Men and women get empowered. And people trusting in Jesus. And literally, we baptize people around the city and the state, which is really cool. And all of these things, I've been blown away and extremely grateful. Words cannot express how much these moments have fueled me to continue to lead this beautiful church. God has done and is doing a good thing here, and I am so thankful to have been a part of this journey. With all of the good, however, there have been many knockdowns. Early on in our church, we moved to Lincoln Heights after being in Pleasant Ridge. There was the pain of that season really knocked the wind out of us as a church. We lost a ton of people, a lot of finances, but we weathered the storm. We got up off the canvas, bloody, but our heads were unbowed. Shout out to my fraternity for that. In a community seen as tough, it meant that we were facing an uphill battle funding-wise. Knowing this, if you know me, I've worked 2 extra jobs to try to make this work. But when one of the jobs ended earlier this year, it put a stress on the church financially to try and cover expenses that we simply could not. Of course, we are thankful for last gifts that have been a blessing, but sustainability hasn't even been a word that we could consider. And on top of this, partners we thought would support us didn't. And, the well of churches that we went to got dry. Opportunities for me as a bivocational or at times a trivocational pastor were just not realistic. And this blow kept us on the canvas for a while. But we have tried to stagger back to keep fighting. Planting a church is hard, but planting one in a pandemic is even harder. We all had to face new realities, but this one had caused the hardest hit to our church. And honestly, personally to me, COVID closed our doors for a while and forced many of our fragile base to move out of Cincinnati to find work in other places. And although we've tried our very best to invite others into gatherings, into our spaces, it's been sparse at best. Although we are thankful for those who come, such low turnout has a way of having negative effects on the pastor's psyche. And if I'm honest, Sundays are joy and they can be hard because on one end, I'm excited to gather with the body, but the reality is that I'm not sure who will show. Most of the time, it's a handful of us, and that's hard, if I'm honest. The knockdowns we face, we always seem to bounce back. But if I'm honest, as the pastor of the church, I feel like Little Mac kind of tired and punched out. I've given Reconcile all my all, and the knockdowns have forced, that we faced to hurt to the point that personally, I don't think I have it in me to get back off of the canvas anymore. I've tried so hard, but it's at this point where I'm realizing that me getting back up to try to rally this church again may actually cause damage to my family and I. And so recently, earlier this year, I was at a pastors and wives retreat in the Hilton Head, spending time celebrating and reflecting on our church's experiences. And on the last night, a pastor, after hearing an update on our church and all of the plates that we're spinning, asked me a question that still haunts me to this day. And he said, "Do you think that you can keep this up?" It haunted me because I knew the answer that I've shied away from for a while, and that's that I can't. And so because of this hard truth, I've come to the realization that Reconcile Community Church won't be able to go on past this year. I never thought I would write this sentence. I never thought that I would be here. But it's this time where I know that it's appropriate, and this is an appropriate place for me to do it. It's not that we have failed, but on December 4th, we would have finished the season that God had for us. And I'm thankful for all of y'all who have been here in person, people online. Like, it has been an honor to have been able to serve in this capacity as your pastor. And I appreciate and I'm thankful for you all trusting me with tears and laughs. I'm thankful for being invited in to your families, to be able to celebrate the highs and the lows. This week, I've been blown away by all of the words of encouragement from all of the members, your unwavering support. And because of all of you, we were able to, by God's grace, to create something special. And so what does this look like for us in the coming weeks? As I said before, our final Sunday will be December 4th. And then I can't really tell you what happens after that for my family and I. We're still trying to decide that, but I do know that the Lord has been like rest and recover. I know on December 3rd, we'll try to plan, if the funds are there, to try to plan to mark a moment on December 3rd, that Saturday. And then one of the last things that we would, all throughout the rest of this time that we're together, we want to be able to capture the stories of how this church has been beneficial for all of you. If the church has benefited you in any type of way, we want to be able to capture those stories, if you're online or if you're in person, to be able to remember this moment, to make, as I've always told you, an altar of remembrance, that we can look back, and even though this church may not exist, we can still say, look what the Lord has done.